reminded me of personal things. My sister-in-law was a juvenile diabetic. And I think, what would her circumstances be if she had had this law when she was alive? The last 20 years of her life were a struggle. The company she worked for folded and her health insurance was lost. And she spent the last 20 years of her life struggling financially, medically, and really unable to get the kind of continuity of care necessary. She got a lot of help from her family, but even so, it was a struggle. Under the law today, she would have been able to get insurance. And in 2014 in California, or actually next year in California, there will be an insurance exchange. So even though she spent those last 20 years as an independent contractor selling various things over those years, she could enter into a large pool, that is the exchange, where she would have the same opportunity to buy a low-cost policy as though she were in Ford Motor Company with hundreds of thousands of employees. Our Republican colleagues would abolish the exchanges. And I just think about what could have been. There was no exchange, and she wasn't able to get that insurance. But had she lived and had other men and women with diabetes or serious heart issues or other kinds of problems, medical problems, they could get insurance in the exchange and be part of a large pool. And simultaneously, if they didn't have the income, they would be able to get a subsidy. If their income was less than the poverty level, that insurance would be free through the Medicaid program. And if they were above the poverty level, it would be subsidized so that it would be affordable. And I guess this is really about compassion. This is about our very moral sense of who we are as Americans. Do we have compassion, and do we care for our fellow citizens? On today's floor, I heard the most astounding arguments based upon falsehoods, just flat-out falsehoods. I heard the speaker here say that the Affordable Care Act cost employment. But since the Affordable Care Act has been in place for the last 2 years, private sector employment has grown every single month. Now, there may have been some company that decided not to employ somebody, or maybe they went out of business for any number of reasons, but private sector employment has grown every single month for the last 28 months. So taken as a whole, the Affordable Health Care Act didn't retard employment. It didn't cause the number of private sector employees to decline. In fact, they've grown. And I also heard the very same person with the very same argument say that it's driven up health care costs. Well, excuse me. Take a look at the statistics, the health care statistics. We've actually